Rico. Oh, let me make Rico something again. Hold on. Rico needs to be a co-host. Can't find my mouse. Larry, can you make Rico a co-host?
I got him all over it.
All right. Okay. All right. So rule 1. So before every presentation, there's definitions. And we'll go over just some definitions next week. But this is where, as a new official, you really got to spend a lot of time going over the definitions. Because
by the way, Garrick, yeah, you're the original host, so only you can do those admin things.
Okay.
I put him in the waiting room, though.
I see that.
Got him out.
Got him out. Why can't I get to my mouse? Hold on. I want to unshare my screen for a second, I guess. Sorry, everybody. We're new to this, so give us a second here. There we go. Drop this over here. All right. Make co-host. Okay. All right, Rico, you should be good now. Okay. All right, so like I was saying, so definitions. So this is where you really need to spend a lot of time. On our website, we have broken down the definitions by rule. So you'll be able to kind of print it out. I recommend you print it out and you bring it to these rule meetings, so that way you can look up what it means. Seth Allen just asked a question about rule books. Yes, you will get a rule book in June. However, on our website, we have the rules broken up into a Word document, so you can print that off as well and start reading it now from that standpoint. But Rule 1 has some definitions that we'd recommend that you learn. Oops. Okay. Section 1 is just the game. This is pretty basic. A lot of y'all may know this stuff, but you'll be surprised how detailed it can get. Each team is required to have 11 players to start the game. So you can continue with fewer than 11, but you have to have 11. Where some of y'all may be going, this could come into play. You know, you may have fewer than 11 to end the game. When you only got 18 to start, then total on the team it doesn't take much to get down to 11. But you have to have 11 to start the game. The referee, in the pregame, he informs head coaches and captains what's expected. Good sportsmanship. Referee has the authority to prompt the rule promptly in the spirit of good sportsmanship, and referee decisions are final. Crew. So we in high school, we take control of the game 30 minutes prior to contest. So what that means is that if the kickoff is 7:30, that we arrive on the field at 7 o'clock. And we control until the game is over with. And then obviously if you have to do penalty reports, ejection reports, that's all part of our responsibility as well. That's what the ejection form looks like. And I'll show this to you because it can all be found on the high school league website. So all of that is done electronically. The field. So that's the football field. It's a lot of markings, and we'll talk about some of these tonight. And then when we get you out in the field, we'll also talk about those as well. You'll hear something called the field of play. And basically that is the field minus the end zones. So everything from goal line to goal line is considered the field of play. We have what's called the 9-yard marks, and basically these are where on most fields, this is where the numbers are. Now you do have some fields without a number, but that just determines for offensive players, they have to be inside the 9-yard marks at least for a second prior to the ball being snapped. And this prevents hideout plays and things like that. The restricted area. Now, this is important, especially for your the wing guys, the linesman, the line judge. The restricted area becomes dead, or becomes a non-restricted area basically when the ball is live. So you can have coaches standing there. You can have 3 coaches, giving it the signals, but then they've got to move back into this team box area when the ball is about to come live. So this gives you all 2 yards to work, and that's a safety issue. It's a safety issue for us. It's a safety issue for the coaches, for the kids, etc. So the wing guys will tell you that you've got to get them back, and no matter what the coaches think, they do not coach any better standing on the field than standing in the team box. It does not help their players for them to try to stand on the field. So, as a new official, that's one of the things that you have to do early is establish that area is yours, and we'll talk about how you do that throughout the course of the summer. End zone. So again, we talked about the end zone is not in the field of play. The goal line is in the end zone, and if there's like paint schemes or words, then they shouldn't touch the goal line. There should be some separation between the paint in the end zone and the goal line. Now, nowadays, we have a lot of turf fields, and on these turf fields, there's soccer, there's lacrosse, there's field hockey. There's a lot of different sports going on, so you'll have a lot of different lines. And so one of the things that we'll talk about when you go out there on the field sessions is when you walk the field, you look at the lines and see, do they have lines touching the goal line? What is the goal line? I actually did a playoff game last year at Newberry College, and what was marked initially as the goal line, the white line was not the goal line. The red line next to the white line was the goal line. So you just had to be aware of those type of things from that standpoint. Pylon. So we all know about the pylon. The pylons are out of bounds. So if they are properly placed, they are out of bounds, and that has a lot of implications and later rules. They may all be kind of red, orange, or yellow. A lot of them are a faded red or a faded orange. Pylons, they're placed at the intersection of the sideline and the end line. So right there in those corners, that's where you put the pylons. And on the back ones, you can put them either on the line or on the back line. A lot of people put them 3 yards behind the end line, back in this area right here. The goal. So we must have goalpost padding. 6 feet. That is one of the things that we are supposed to check when we go out there. You do not start a game without goalpost padding. The reason for that, again, is player safety. And then there might be a question about the colors of the streamer, red, orange, yellow. But the biggest thing here is that you must have the goalpost padding. All right. Game equipment. So we got a football. 8 to 12 evenly spaces, certain weight. There's no such thing as a kicking ball. The referee approves the game balls prior to the game. Each team must give 1 game ball. Now, a lot of these teams have more than 1, but you got to have 1. The biggest thing with the footballs is this marking, this NFHS marking. If it has that marking on it, then it's an approved football, and you just go with it. We don't really worry about that too much. So when may a team change the game balls? So by rule, they may change when they start a new series of downs. So they make a first down, they can bring a new football. If they're going to free kick or kick off or something like that, they get a new football. If they score a defensive touchdown or they run back a punt for a touchdown, then they can change the ball because they were not the team. That was not their game ball to begin with. So if Team A, they're playing with their football because they're on offense and they throw an interception and the defense runs it back, then the defense can bring their football out there for the extra point or the try. You're not supposed to be able to change during a down. You're not supposed to be able to change prior to offensive touchdown. However, to be honest with you, we end up letting them change a lot. If the ball boys are good and they run them out there, then we'll let them change. If they're slow, then we don't let them do that. We don't slow the game up for that standpoint. But we also don't sit there and harp on them about it either. Kicking tee, minimum elevation is 2 feet off the ground. And for you future umpires out there, that's all on y'all. Y'all look at that stuff.
Let's make it 2 inches there, boss.
What would I say?
Yep.
2 feet.
2 inches off the ground. Yeah.
And it's a maximum, not a minimum.
Robbie, you're a referee now, so you're not allowed to talk about kicking tees. All right, chains. So the linesmen, for those of y'all that are will be linesmen, we check these prior to the game, and again, we'll discuss all that in the field sessions. A couple of things: make sure that there's protective caps on the ends. If there's not, then you do not play, because again, this is a safety issue. And those are metal poles, so if there's not a cap on the end, then we do not play. And then your mentors will teach you how to measure and tape at the halfway mark. And the other thing that we do for safety is we operate these chains off the sideline. So if you remember back to that slide talking about the restricted area and the team box, the chains actually operate in that 2 yards off the sideline. And this again just gives you some room, because there's a bad feeling if you're the wing guy and then the runner's coming at you, and you have a chain, right behind you, and some 350-pound dude holding that chain that's not moving very fast. You can get squeezed in there pretty good. So make sure that they're operating back 2 yards off the sideline. And again, when we talk about controlling your team area, controlling your box, controlling your sideline, for the linesman, that includes making sure that the chain crew has room to maneuver as well. All right, players, captains. So they communicate with officials, minimum of 1, no more than 4. So this picture right here is wrong because they have 5 captains. You can only have 4 captains in uniform. Now, if they want to bring out some guy in, blue jeans, that's fine. They got some sort of special event, some injury, that's fine, but only 4 in uniform. Rule change for us for 2020 is that a head coach can now designate somebody to make penalty decisions. It may be a player or it may be a coach. It's going to be a coach 99% of the time. And then penalty decisions are final, and then they must be made prior to granting a timeout. Player designations. So this is very important when it comes to numbering, which we'll talk about in Rule 7. Numbering only applies to the offensive team. So on the defense, it can be any number you want. You just can't have double numbers. You can't have 2 number 11s playing defense on the same down. So on first down, you can't have 2 number 11s back there. But on offense, it does matter. Any player that's numbered 50 through 79 is ineligible to catch a pass. So if you have a game and number 54 catches a pass for a touchdown, and there's no flag, the entire crew is wrong. You cannot have number 54 catch a forward pass for a touchdown. Okay. We're going to talk more about this when we get into Rule 2, but what do we mean by on the line, off the line, back, end, and we'll talk more about that in Rule 2. But there's a definitions that you have to have memorized and understand exactly what they mean. Player equipment. So the player's supposed to have all of this. So thigh pads, knee pads, tailbone pads, belt, shoes, socks, face mask, helmet, shoulder pads. They got to have all of it. And they watch TV and they're going to try to add to it. And we'll talk more about what we allow, what we kind of sometimes will let slide, things like that. But this is all that they are supposed to have to be properly equipped to play football. Umpires, this is what y'all do. And in the pregame, you get to legally check out a bunch of teenage kids to making sure they're wearing all their stuff correctly. And if there's any questions, then the umpire makes that determination as to whether or not it's legal or not. Home versus away jerseys. So teams must wear contrasting colors. It is the visiting team responsibility for avoiding similar colors. When in doubt, the referee may request the home team to change colors. We do have a couple of teams around here that like to wear one jersey for warm-ups and then go in and change. But, basically they got to be contrasting. So this is not allowed in high school. The home team cannot be in white. So this is a home game at LSU, and LSU is wearing their white jerseys. This is not allowed. This is also not allowed in high school. Both teams have on their home jerseys. We do not allow that. The visiting team would have to be in white. We mentioned this. So in the pregame, when we meet with the head coaches, the referee will ask all of your players properly and legally equipped. And the coach will say, yes, something along the lines to the best of my ability, yada, yada, yada. And then if the umpire determines player equipment legality. I say the referee and another official in the pregame because we even do this for sub-varsity games. So, and it may be you and the line judge get there first, you as in the referee, and the line judge get there first, and the head coach is there. You may go ahead and ask them or try to at least get while people are coming in. So, but at least from the pregame, the referee and one other official or a witness, so to speak. Eye shields must be clear without tint. And again, this is a safety issue. We want to be able to see their eyes, not so much for us, but the trainers. If a kid gets hit in the head, they want to be able to look at him, make sure he's okay. Eye markings must be solid without marking. Eye black must be solid without markings. Knee pads must cover the knees, and this is something that we fight a lot. Kickers, quarterbacks, wide receivers are notorious for trying to keep pulling their pants up, pulling their knee pads up. So we just keep telling them to push them down, or even better, you send them out one time to the coach, tell them to pull their knee pads down, and then next thing you know, they've got them down because they have to miss a play. Early in the season, we have to harp on this a lot, but as the season wears on, they kind of figure it out. Right here in this picture, you see the play card that he's got on his waist. We do not allow that in high school. It has to be up on his arm. Again, this is a safety issue as well. But so the play card has to be up on the wrist arm area. If legal equipment becomes improperly worn during a down, the player may remain in the game if repair does not delay more than 25 seconds. So, if a guy's shoe comes off, we will give them a second to get the shoe back on. With the new play clock rules, this really isn't too much of a problem. Most of the time they can slip their shoes on pretty quick. But yeah, that's what that is talking about. If you lose a helmet, then you have to go out for a play. And that is the rule there. All right, last section here. Coach's equipment. All right, so with the event of technology, like we're using tonight, iPads, iPhones, tablets, all have become very commonplace on the sideline. A lot of these teams now, they're able to bring their teams over and watch clips in the bench area during the game. The coaches will tell you how you missed the call during the game. You need to go watch the video. Come over here. We are not allowed to use technology. We do not have instant replay. We just tell them to send the clip into the high school league and just move on from there. But on the sideline, they can pretty much use whatever they want, and we don't care if only one side headsets are working and not the other side. We don't worry about any of that. So they use whatever they want. Now, remember those 9-yard marks that we talked about? That's also important for conferences. So again, if you have a conference outside the 9-yard marks, and what that means is between the hash mark and the sideline, then you can have the whole team, 20 coaches, all sorts of people out there, and they can be having a conference and talking, and you see how that official there is kind of watching them, make sure they're not doing anything they're not supposed to do. But really, outside the 9-yard marks, you can pretty much do anything you want. It's only if you try to have a meeting inside. So you see how he's at the hash marks? So if he comes in there, then you can only have 11 players and only one coach. Okay, and he's not supposed to hand the headset to a player. So he's got to stay on the headset. The coach does while he talks to his team. The last section in Rule 7 is not applicable. We do not use instant replay during postseason games. That's it for Rule